fucking cat. This thing is up my ass constantly. All right, we're recording. This is the long overdue episode of Nate Harvey. This is like the second time we've recorded this. For those who don't know, we recorded this prior to Swiss, and it's now fucking halfway through December. So
we're back.
We're doing the thing, man. Nate, how are you, man?
Good. Like we said, we're just thawing out from this last snowfall, but other than that, I can't complain.
Yeah, the amount of snow that doesn't even, you said it's like 60 inches, 70 something inches. How much did you end up getting?
We got at my house, we got like 60 in our little town or whatever I guess you want to call it, and then like 10 minutes down the road they got. So it's really like, weird. And then 20 minutes north they got 24 inches.
Now, how long did that snow take to fall? Like, was it a couple days? Like, what was the duration?
We got about, I think it was like 49 over 60. So it just get dumped on. They so they'll like, and I got a little pissed off when I was talking shit at night. There was no snow at all, and they closed down like all the schools for Friday, and of course I go online and like there's no snow and you're shutting everything down. And then, Friday afternoon, it's waist deep in the road. It comes down so quick, they can't really keep up. So just kind of stuck.
So, and now you've been in that area. You've been in New York or Buffalo area for your entire life?
About an hour south of here, down kind of in the corner of the state, like out in the woods. Started my grad work and stuff. For XBiz, we moved up here and stuff. So we've been up here like, 50, something like that. So yeah, but general area, basically shit. Lots of snow growing up.
So how long have you had fucking serious mental illness? That's fucking.
As of recently, more so recently. Why am I so fucking tired all the time? I don't feel like doing anything. Then like last couple, and as soon as you step out of the car, it's like, whoa. It's like summer here, you know what I mean? Your mood and
yeah, right.
I could imagine living in Seattle or some shit like that.
Oh, no, never. Now, just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a recap, is the last time we hung out, that was a Swiss. And that was shit. That was quite the stretch. That was quite the stretch of activity. That was, I know how I felt after that, just because there's so many moving parts, right? Like I'm not even involved. Like I'm really not even involved with Elite. And like, I found myself fucking neck deep in the shit with you and Goodwin and John there. And it was wild. You've been to a lot of Swisses prior to that. How did that compare to Swiss of the past? You're muted there. You might have a notification there, popular guy.
That better?
Yeah, that's better. Good. Yeah, every time you get like a pop-up or something, like it like shifts you out of the recording.
Okay. All right. It's up. It keeps coming up. It's like an error. It was like you said, it was super. Thank God you guys were there, and like you and there was a couple other guys there helping. Matt and I, they would have been brutal. I mean, it like we kind of talked about earlier, it's almost like a meet. Like you're up so high all week and you're moving stuff, and then all during the day you're talking to people. And I'm not a huge people person, so that kind of wears on me a little bit. It's cool. It's awesome talking to everybody and having people come out and stuff, but it does kind of empty the gas tank a little bit. Just went up.
You're right. Like, and And it is. It's you're staying up crazy late, like setting shit up, and then you're waking up early to set shit up more, and then it's. We were both having the conversation prior to this. Is like we both got super sick, like right after, like just like a few days after. I thought I got hit by a bus, and I was like, yeah, I'll be good in a day or two, and then I just wasn't. And I'm like, oh fuck, I think I'm old now. Like I think I'm an old guy now. Like I can't do this shit
something
anymore.
to do with the equipped benches. Oh, and squats you were doing there too. You know.
Well, that was fucking stupid. That was just dumb. And like I don't know because you saw me the morning that way. What was that, Saturday?
I think so. It's all kind of.
Because I was gonna. We were. Oh, it's a blur, man. So we went to go squat it at Elite, and I was green. I was green going there that day. I was an absolute disaster, and somehow managed to get through it, survived, but paid the price for like the next couple weeks. Like honestly, I haven't even posted anything about the meet, dude. I bombed out on benching. I couldn't even fucking get that damn shirt to touch. No, it was as if I had never trained for anything in my life. I wasn't ready. I was fried. It's like I peaked at Swiss and then like was just riding down the next couple of weeks, just feeling like shit. And I knew you would get a kick out of that because we were talking about how fucking frustrating bench pressing is in gear and how there's so many variables and how so many things can go wrong. And it was the first meet that I've been to where it's like everything fucking went wrong. Like there was nothing that went right. My squats felt like shit. My gear wasn't fitting. I couldn't put my weight back on. Like I had some fucking stomach thing that was fucking me up, and like everything was loose fitting. And for some reason, my partners were wrapping my fucking knees, and it felt like someone was just cranking a wrench on my knee. Like nothing felt good. There was no good part of it. I wasn't ready for it. I was drained, and I got my ass kicked. So that's how that goes. So that was awful. Yeah. Now, have you had experiences like that where you just roll up to a meet and you just fucking shit the bed?
I'm laughing because I've been there the way it is. And it sucks because you spend so much time getting ready for that. It's not like basketball where you have 2 games a week or whatever. That one day, and then you get there and everything fucking sucks. Like I remember my last meet night before I started getting like flu aches and stuff. You know, I'm in the bed shivering and like the shit where the sheets graze over your skin and it hurts. Coughing shit up. They're fucking coughing blood up and fucking all this stuff. And the next day, you know, it's like I'm going up for my squat attempt. And, you know, it's like, what the fuck? But
dude, it took me 3 attempts to get my opener. I got my first attempt. I got fucking pinned. I got pinned, and I was like, "Oh no, this is not going to go any better than this. Let's just try to fucking salvage something." But yeah, man, it wasn't in the cards. Like I don't think people realize the amount of I would say fatigue that builds up, especially in like the geared powerlifting end of things. Like that's like you're playing with weights that would fucking crush you week in, week out. And like, if something isn't lined up, you can't muscle fuck a weight up. You can't.
That's something I learned kind of early on, like playing sports in high school and stuff. All those variables within the game where you can kind of will certain things to happen. You can kind of toughen up and say, fuck this, we're, you know, one way or another, where like a powerlifting meet is more black and white. You know, if you're, like you said, if your technique's off that day or whatever, it's 900 is 900. And, you know, if everything's not right, it ain't going to happen. You know, not 900 pounds is not going to slip and you're going to catch a bar. It's fucking, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, and it was, I mean, I don't think I could have picked a better meet to suck at because it was Laura Phelps's meet. We had Hoff judging. It was like all the big wigs in terms of APF judging. Like I passed a squat in like the most strict environment possible on the worst day ever. So that was huge. And I got through, I fucking took 3 bench attempts, and Hoff just looked at me at the end. He goes, "I am so sorry." I am so sorry. Like he just saw it, like saw me getting my ass kicked all day. And I just kind of kept, I'm like, all right, fuck it. We're going to see how this goes. And I just kept putting weight on the bar for the bench because it got better as I put more weight on, right? Like it got a little bit smoother. The shirt didn't fight me as much. But man, by that 3rd attempt, I had fucking just nothing in the tank. And I just quietly walked over like the fucking stupid looking T-Rex I am in my bench shirt, and I just put my shit away, and I wanted to put a for sale sign on everything.
Oh yeah.
And just fucking be done with it. And and that shit haunts you, right? Like that, you have to, then now I have to bring all that gear to the airport. Now I have to fucking fly with that shit. And now I have to bring it all fucking home. And I just threw that shit in my closet. I'm like, I don't want to fucking see this shit ever again.
Yeah. That's, the one meet I was in, it was at JL's place, and it was like, I think the first year they had the qualifier for, and basically all I had to, like, Arnold lift there was like a big goal, you know, and basically I just had to go, and if I would have just hit my openers, I probably would have qualified. So I got my squat in. That didn't go real well. I might have got a 2nd attempt, and then bench was a complete shit show. In training, I had 800 to a 1 board. So I was like, okay, this bench should go well. First one, weight came out, my wrist wrap came off or something. Second one, like I took 7 again, and I blasted it up, but I hit, you know, so I'm like, fuck this. 3rd one, going 750, you know, and I smoked it, but like they said, my ass came up or whatever. Then I had to drive home 6 hours, you know, at freaking midnight after that, just sitting with that the whole time. It's like, what the? I was talking to my buddy the other day. There's always this point in the meet for me in the warm-up room where I'm like starting to warm up and they're starting to bar a little bit. And I have this moment where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I fucking putting myself through this? You know what I mean? And then you're like,
yeah.
But I had to have that conversation for 6 hours on the way home, you know, like, motherfucker, I just spent all this, and you fucking feel sorry for yourself. Dude. And then 2 days later, you're back in the gym. Let's go.
Well, it's funny because like a week after that, I think I'm getting my timeline kind of fucked up. So there was a meet going on, and myself and Sarah went up, and we were helping we were just kind of there, like we were just kind of floating around, and it was actually at Murph's gym. And cool. So so there was one guy there competing in the like an F8 band shirt. And he was the only one there competing in that. And there was like only a handful of multiply people there. I was just kind of there because I kind of know the people that were competing, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, it was a fun time. And there I was, like shortly after or shortly around that time, being so fucking frustrated with this shit. Now I'm in a position where I'm like helping somebody else avoid the chaos of fucking up at a meet, right? And it was just like, that was the moment I was just like, oh, I really do like this shit. Like, and this is fucking really fun. And I just had a shitty meet. But man, when you're in it, there's fucking nothing worse than being in that shit. That, like, you want to just crawl under a rock. It's like, I just want to die here. This is fine.
There was one other, so you're giving me PTSD. There was one other meet where like training was going well. Like all my squat training, I should have been able to go to this meet and hit 1,000. That was a goal for quite a while. And I went and opened around 9. And first one felt like shit, didn't get it. Second one, I like fell forward.
Oh, I see what you mean about the that pop up that comes up. I saw that.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, you know, okay. You're good.
So, and then like second one, we added a little bit of weight because I think the first one I had trouble getting depth was part of the issue. So We went to like maybe 940. The second one, I fell forward with it, and I even said the weight. I was like coming forward, and I go help instead of saying take it. I was like fucking help, and my and my daughter even heard me and fucking called me out on it later. She's like, you almost fell. Like, yeah, thanks. And then the third one, it was like a 10-second grind, and I just like it almost killed me. So it was like it was like you said, like everything was good, but you get there and it's like, what the hell is going on? Like.
Yeah, it's funny because you said help. I go, nope. Like at the bottom, I was like, nope, absolutely not. Like I wasn't even gonna fuck it. Like the first one, I was like, all right, cool. Everything is everything feels a little heavy in the warm ups. Like my last warm up was like 625 with like light. Like I didn't even hit my suit up that tight or anything like that. And I was like, okay,
Right.
that felt like shit. So maybe throw some knee wraps on and it'll be fine. My opener was like 677. And I was like, all right, cool. I've done this. I don't know how many times I've fucking done this. And like I just get under the bar, I unrack it. And all of a sudden it's like, did they misload this? And as soon as your first thought is they misload this, you're like, oh no, I'm fucked. And I took it down and I think my hamstrings touched my ankles. Like I was fucking way too deep. And I was like, nope. Because I think the judging got under my skin a little bit just because the depth they were calling was like really strict depth. And I was shitting my pants about it because I was like, oh, I got to fucking drain this.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking too much about it. And I ended up just being like, okay. That was my first 2 whacks at it. And I was like squatting for somebody else. I wasn't just squatting how I squat, if that makes sense. Yep. So I was like running into this wall of like, how come I can't get out of the hole? And they're like, you're going way too fucking deep. Like, stop thinking about this shit. And so I was like, all right, third one, here we go. And I just squatted to what I was training at. And they're like, all right, 3 whites. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like if I just did that, that would have been fine. Yeah, man, it's wild, but it's interesting. I wanted to get your opinion on like what you would do after a meet. Like I'm kind of shifting away from multiply for a while. I have strongman nationals in June out in Texas. So I'm kind of shifting back to the strongman focus. And what I'm finding now is I was so peaked and strong in multiply and a wide stance and like doing everything for powerlifting. Man, I fucking threw a yoke bar on my back and I just did like a closer stance squat. I am weaker than fucking cat piss. And it's like, I want to get your opinion on how you kind of transfer back to like, I'm going to say healthier training. Cause like powerlifting, peaking and all that shit, like isn't the best when it comes to overall health. Dude, my shoulders are fucked. Like everything just feels like shit. And I'm like, how am I supposed to rebuild this fucking jalopy?
It's funny you mentioned that because I think to me what's really cool about the like conjugate system is we have all these different bars and variations and this and that, and I think sometimes like especially when you're getting ready for a meet you have to specify more. Or I've done myself in the past, I've kind of got locked into certain patterns because I thought I got strong because of that, so I wanted to repeat that. And you kind of lose the variation. And one of the advantages of the program, you know what I mean? Being able to be fluid and switch things in and out. And I think you get kind of locked into the same stuff because you're scared if you stray too far from that, you're going to lose a bunch of strength. When in reality, you know, you need to keep the variation in. So I do a bunch of shit you haven't done for a while, basically.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of running into. And it's funny when we had our training session when you were in Ohio with me and we were at Express, you did a fucking, that was like a cambered bar bench. And I was like, all right, fuck it. I guess we're doing that. But you had bands on it. Like it was like a diabolical variation. And I was like, all right, yeah, fuck it. I've been training fucking hard for blah, blah, blah. Like I thought my bench was looking good. My first set, I was shaking like a leaf. Like I couldn't even hold it. I was like, are we going up? Like, how are we going to add more weight to this fucking... I didn't say this at the time, but I was like, I'm going to fail. They'll have to peel this fucking bar off of my chest. But like, it was like me and you and Bartle, and we were just kind of rolling through it. But I noticed like you learn it the more you do it, and by the end of it, like you were like, how many sets was that? I was like, I don't fucking know. All I knew is that they were getting better and better as we were going. So that variation that you had mentioned, it's something that I'm going to actually look back at your posts and like see some of your variations that you've kind of done and throw those in, because I was like, wow, I am so bad at so many things now. And now is the time to kind of fuck around and find out, to see where I kind of need to progress things going in a different direction. But man, that was fucking humbling. When I saw you put that like micro mini on, I go, what the fuck is that going to do? And I was like, oh shit, that did a lot.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Don't be afraid to not train like a maniac for a while.
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about how shitty we felt after Swiss and after your meet and stuff. Like that was a mistake I always made, because like I would usually compete towards the end of summer, and then when I should have taken a month to like keep a bar off my back and chill out and all that stuff, the throwers were coming back, and a lot of times, you know, I would jump in and train with them once in a while just because of the way the schedule worked out and stuff. And there was no fucking way like I was going to back down, you know. So instead of when I should have had a break, I was going like pretty high intensity and high volume too, because I was trying to show them, hey, you got to fucking bust your ass, you know, but in the process, putting myself through the meat grinder. So yeah, don't be afraid to chill out for a little bit. But yeah, like you said, that bar sucks. But I don't know. It was really cool training with some people too, because I've been, not that I don't have people around here I can train with, but just the way my schedule's been the last 2 months, I've had to just come out in the garage and do it myself. And it was really fun to like fucking get in and train with some actual people. It's amazing how motivating it can be. I kind of forgot.
Well, it's like, you don't want to be the fucking jackass that sucks the worst. It's like, all right, I got to be a little bit better than that guy. It's like you're this thing. It's like, all right, I just got to be better than Bartle. So I just got to be better than Bartle. It's like, but yeah, man, it's funny that you mentioned that about the throwers. I ran into that, and I was talking to Travis about this, about being in a strength coach environment when you're competing. It's like you have your schedule of training, and then you have like what your athletes are doing. And I ran into this the other day. My track girls were like, what's your vertical? And I'm like, motherfucker. I was like, cool. I get to do this cold. Like, that's really fun. Like, you just get on my just jump mat and just fucking blow out a hamstring. Yeah. But Travis was talking about how one time, I think it was either the baseball guys or the football guys, they were kind of slacking. So he had to go in and just like they were struggling with like a 550 pull or something. So Travis just walked up cold as ice and pulled like 500 or 550. And then like the head coach at the time was like, nice, Travis. Good. And then Travis was like, I'm going to spend the rest of this lift under my desk just recovering because everything hurts. So at what point in your coaching career where you were just like, all right, I can't do stupid shit? It's like, even with like my rowers and my track women, like I find myself, like if it's a fucking trap bar or a straight bar or whatever, it's like I'm demoing things at like, I don't know, it's not a ton of weight, but it adds up over the course of time. If you have to demo it over and over and over, it's like 315, 375, like, and you're just like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, why am I putting myself out there when I can just have somebody else do it? Was there a point in your training or your coaching career where you're like, I'm fucking done trying to fucking big dick all these people and just, I'm here for one thing, and that's to coach?
This says waiting on host to record. Is it good on your end?
Yeah. Okay. We're good on my side. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get this one way or the other. I'll fucking drive to the snowy reaches of fucking Buffalo and just sit in your garage with you. I don't give a shit at this point.
Like with the demo thing, probably a few years in, like when my training was starting to get heavier and like I would spend a lot of my days feeling like shit, like I was going to fall apart from training. You know what I mean? I kind of figured out if I go grab that 3 plates cold and give it a yank, it's probably not going to be good. But like,
Mhm.
as far as like, if I was warmed up in training, I didn't figure that part out. You know what I mean? Like if we were
Yeah, right.
training and going, it was too late when I actually figured that out.
Man, and it almost happened the other day. There was one of the women failed with a split squat, and like we were doing like a concentric only, so we had chains on there, and she just left it on the safeties, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'll just fucking yoink this up. This isn't too hard. And I was like, I did it, and I racked it, and everybody's looking at me, and I was like, what? And then they all look away, and I'm like, ow, fucking everything hurts. I don't know why I did that. That was stupid. You're trying not to limp.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
man,
good.
I'm like, this is good. Everything's fine. Go fucking over there. But but it's interesting that you mentioned that about like doing the things that you suck at. And it's almost like being brand new in the gym again, because like I suck at everything. I did a set of fucking 10 on just simple like yoke bar squats the other day, and I thought I was like, this isn't good. I was like, have I been in the hospital? Like, what the fuck have I been doing for the last year of my life? But I know, like, when I get back into gear, when I do all that shit, it'll be better. But do you have any sort of, and I kind of want to lead this into the conjugate seminar that you just did. Do you have any like staples in terms of volume or exercise selection to kind of bridge that gap? You said like a month without a bar in your back. What sort of things would you be doing in that time?
Just swap out your real taxing stuff for easier things.
Mm-hmm.
Like belt squat instead of squat, make belt squat your main movement. Or if you have a leg press, or you could do like, lunges are probably going to kick your ass. So
Oh
you could
God,
make,
yeah.
you could make a single leg variation, not your max effort, but put it in that lane, hit sets of even 10 or 6 or whatever, and then go on
Mm-hmm.
to like your normal, less taxing accessories, stuff like that. You can plug in sled for some stuff. Just like I said, make it easier. You know what I mean? Like you're going to suck at those things because you haven't done them for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but it's they're going to be hard because you haven't done them for a while. But it's give yourself a break and kind of take the pounding off your body for a while.
Yeah, I was chatting with Dave before I left Ohio at Swiss, and I was just kind of chatting about like what to do. Actually, it was when it was post meet, so it was the day after I fucking bombed out like a terrorist, and I was chatting with him, and he said about like 6 weeks or so, just kind of give yourself some time to kind of just reacclimate. And it's funny because the duration of time, I don't think matters as much as how you feel when you're training. Is like you almost want to get back to the point where the things that you're doing don't suck nearly as bad, and then you can kind of start transferring back to some of the more specific things for that sort of training. And again, I mean, I'm sure if I was handling heavier loads, if I was squatting in the thousands, it would probably be like 8 weeks, maybe even 10 weeks, like of really just trying to back off away from the heavier shit. But I think a good rule of thumb, and I would love to get your opinion on it, is as soon as you don't hate going into the gym, as soon as you're not bored or you're like, oh, I feel pretty good at this stuff, then you can kind of make that shift back into some of the heavier stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I never thought about that, but that's probably a good guideline. Yeah, if when you're starting to want to go do the harder shit again, and because after a meet or whatever, you're just like, I gotta go do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's probably going to be about 4 to 6 weeks where you kind of start to acclimate to the higher reps and the that other stuff, and you're gonna kind of be recharged. That's always was always kind of my guideline for deloads. Like when I would get to the point, like there's always going to be days where you don't feel like going in, but you start stacking up 2 weeks straight of, oh, this fucking sucks, I don't want to do. That's where I was always kind of like, what, I'm just going to deload and maybe not even do anything this week. When that motivation starts to wean a little bit, it might be time to get out of there for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because it sounds like we're very similar. Is like right after a meet, our body's like, all right, well, now we're going to crash. Now we're just going to fucking go to shit. And now we are just going to, I tend to get sick. Like I really, like I either get like the flu or like a crazy cold and I am on my ass. And there is a point where I'm like, maybe I did something wrong in my training to get to that point as to why my body is like just coming off, just losing wheels around the turns on these. But it is funny to see, to have these conversations with people that have done it. And it's like, they kind of run into the same thing. It's like you hammer the gas pedal for so long, like you need to tap the brakes. You need to give yourself some time to recharge and kind of, decompress here a little bit. And one of the things that you do very well is having a garage setup. Granted, like you have awesome stuff from Elite, but you come up with some awesome variations that you progress and that you incorporate over the course of time. And it's been really cool to see your training. It's like you were just like poking fun at yourself, like when you were at Elite, you're like, this is fucking children's weight, blah, blah, blah. But it's cool to see that progress every single week. And I think that has something to do with just realizing that progress is progress regardless of what you're doing. It's like, if this thing you suck at, like for me, the first thing I knew I needed to do is to get some fucking deep ass squats with a yoke bar in my back and just get used to loading my quads more, essentially. Because everything in strongman is close stance, pretty quad dominant.
Right.
And it's like, I got to get back into that position. And the only way to do that is to do it. And I'm seeing variations that you're doing, and it's fucking cool to see, like week in, week out, you're just loading it up more and more and more, and you're able to handle more and more. And it's how quickly your body kind of responds to that. And I think as someone that has been going for obviously 1 rep maxes and PRs and shit, it's hard to see a lesser weight on the bar and have you not just be like, fuck this, I'm done. I'm playing chess instead. This shit.
Yeah, it's kind of been tough. I got some kind of nerve issues going on that I think I'm starting to figure out. But I stole this from Dave and Donnie a little bit. Like they talk about using variations that you're not sure where you're actually at with them. Because like Donnie said, he would put all his chain and shit on the bar, so he wasn't really sure what he was lifting. And I'm kind of the same way because I know I'll start, and I still do it. I still kind of calculate, well, this chain and that should equal this, and I should be able to actually squat. So it's just like kind of do the weird shit, make it fun, and then just try to add a little bit each week. And just as long as I'm chipping along and in some way making some progress, I'm good with it. That's kind of been the big thing, because my problem in the past is I always, like, I knew something was going on with my leg and stuff, and then I was like, oh, there's a meet 6 months from now. Well, if I do this and this and this, I'll be ready to go. So let's fucking go. And then, I repeat that over the course of 3 years, put yourself in a hole because you're not doing the shit you should be doing. Where now it's just, I've actually figured out, my warm up and my accessories are more important than what my max effort movement is. So what I do is I'm just using the max effort movement for like tissue tolerance. So like with this hamstring, it feels like it wants to rip off half the time. So it's like, okay, this week I got 155 on the bar and I got through my speed sets. I kind of switched that out for max effort, or I was able to do 300 on a pull. So next week I'm hoping I get up to 310 before it starts feeling like shit. Just kind of, and then build the strength up with the accessory stuff, because that's not too that's doing RDLs with 225 or whatever. That's okay. It doesn't feel like it's going to pop off or whatever. So just slowly creeping along and not having that meat in the back of my mind has really helped me not want to fucking hang myself with a jump stretch.
No,
just wrap it around really tight.
No, I fucking feel that, right? Like you have to really break it down into understanding. And Seth Albersworth does a really good job of this when it comes to like rehab stuff too. Like he blew his adductor off. Like he was in rough shape, but man, like now he's back to squatting because he he took a step back far enough and realized, like, okay, I can only do this and this before the pain sets in. I can only do this and this without it hurting. It's like, then he just kind of builds up his pain-free, like you said, tissue tolerance. And he just kind of just keeps doing that for a while. And then he can, like, as the dust settles, like, kind of look back and realize how far he's gotten. And it's like, oh shit, he's squatting again. Like, he's full range squatting, doing whatever he needs to do, when he was in a fucking puddle a couple months ago, you know? So it's huge how quickly that body can kind of respond. And I think one of the things that you've done well, and I think the conjugate system has done well, and I want to get into the seminar that you've done, is, like you had mentioned earlier, that rotating of exercises, of understanding what a weakness is and actually attacking it. So you're a couple weeks out from that seminar. Was that last week or the week before, or a couple weeks before?
2 weekends ago, I think. No.
Now, how did that whole conjugate coaches seminar kind of start? What's the background on that?
Khalil Sherrod, who was a trainer down at the Rack in Atlanta, kind of started it 3 years ago. Just reached out to a bunch of people who kind of train the same way, and was like, hey, you want to get together and we'll do a seminar and hang out and pick each other's brains and stuff. And that's basically how it started. I didn't go the first year, and then I went last year, and then this year too. I would like to get a lot more people there, because I'm sitting there and I'm learning good stuff from everybody, and it's not just because we blow smoke up each other's ass, because we all like the same training system. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's really honestly good information no matter how you train. Like, I learned something from everybody, and you don't always get that at seminars. I'm like, it's a shame there's not more people here. So I think we need to kind of probably like, even myself, I didn't start posting until late about it, but it was good. Everybody's got good information, and it was, it's good to kind of get people together that think the same way, and realize you're not a total freak.
Right.
in the way that you think. You start questioning yourself, like, am I the crazy person, because I think this. And then it's like, oh, we got some more like-minded people, so that's always good too.
Well, it's funny too, because I was talking to a couple of coaches, some younger coaches that are kind of getting into the rhythm of things, and coaching at a collegiate level, or really anything in terms of athletes or whatever, is a super lonely position, right? Like, if you don't have like a director above you kind of calling the shots, like, you're like at a D2 school, D3 school, like you're running the show by yourself. And it's like, you don't have anybody to bounce those ideas off of, and you just have a couple hundred athletes, and it's like, okay, make them better. It's like, oh, fuck. And I think we talked about this on the fucking first time we recorded this shit. And it's one of those things where the program only matters to the people doing it, the location, who you have walking into the weight room at that time. And I think that's the coolest thing about conjugate in general, is that you can really form a really solid program that makes everybody better based on what you have access to in terms of equipment, what you have access to in terms of the types of athletes that you work with, their sport, their weaknesses, schedules, timing, all of that. And I think a lot of people need to look deeper into conjugate as a real sort of training modality for everybody, because it's kind of sprinkled into what everybody does, right? Like, a lot of the people at the college level are looking at like Cal Dietz, for example. He runs a conjugate program. Like, he really does. He kind of breaks things down into like max effort things, and this, like, he breaks things down into how long you do an exercise for, and he changes things and he varies things, and he's always hammering weaknesses. So it's like, you can look at any of these top coaches and see conjugate kind of running through it. I mean, fucking Cressy runs conjugate programs for his baseball guys. Like, it's everywhere. And I think people still have this thought process that it's like, oh, it's just bands and chains and fucking gear and this and that. And it has nothing to do with that shit.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's all the other stuff, and like almost all programming has some hints of conjugate in there. And it's just it's not what Louis does, but it's more widely used, I think, than we realize.
Mm.
And like you said, it's so malleable that it has to be. We have all these, like, when you sit down to write a program, like you have all these goals and peak for this and neural prime that, but like you hit on the things that really matter is your facility, how many racks you have, what equipment you have, what time you have, and then there's the ability of your kids or your athletes or whatever. Like those are the things that really dictate your training. You have to fill all those holes before you start worrying about neuromuscular facilitation, primal, fucking all this other shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you take note of that in conjugate you. You mentioned, I think it was women, was it swimmers? And how like a max effort movement for them looks way different than it does for your throwers. But the intent is the same. And that's something that you preach on in the book as well, is understanding the intent behind a movement or an exercise or a portion of training. Is like, if the intent is to move something heavy, then that's wildly subjective to who you're working with, right? Like, it's max effort for somebody could be a fucking set of 5, could be a set of 10, it could be a single, it could be whatever that is. But the cool part is where the good coach comes out, is like understanding how you implement that intent over the course of time to lead them to that success over the season, over the year, over the 4 years that they're in school, right? So I think having that seminar that you guys do is super, super important. And I fucking wish I could have made it this year. I'll definitely have to go next year. And because it is important to not only hear how like the basics are done in the conjugate system, but how people are implementing it. Because there are so many times where I'm listening to a coach like yourself, or I was talking to, like when we had that seminar at Friends University, I was talking to Joe over there. I'm like, oh, you implement it like this? Oh, that's fucking brilliant. I'm going to do that with this because I have access to this machine. I have access to this. I'm going to try. And it's just this like sharing of ideas, which I think is the best part of any seminar, is the conversations that you have in between the presentations that you can really use to implement for your weight room, your athletes, your situation.
Yeah, exactly. That's, and coming back from Swiss, same thing. Like you get so many ideas, and a lot of times you just get reminded of shit that you used to do that worked real well that you completely forgot about. Like, oh damn, we used to do this and it worked well. And it's you don't. There's a ton of information out there, but you don't. I think you probably get like 60% of that online. Whereas you go and talk to guys and coaches and stuff, and just the motivation to do more stuff. You hear about this person's doing this and this and this, and you're like, I better pick my shit up. You know what I mean? Just like when we got down there and trained together, I was like, oh fuck, man, I need to train harder when I'm by myself, because I know I'm not pushing myself as much as I am when there's these guys around.
Oh, absolutely.
Makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. And it's funny you say that, because it was the comment you said about like when you go down there, you figure out that you're not this crazy person. And it's like, every time I get around other coaches that are doing the thing at a higher level, I'm like, okay, I am focusing on the right things. And the best training really isn't flashy. Like, it really isn't. It's the basic shit done with clear intent. And then another conversation that we had that I think is super important for people to hear is like, are you making sure that they're actually squatting well? Are you making sure that they are, or have the intent that they need to, or that they're focused up? And like I was telling you, is like, I know my track team are a bunch of fucking airheads. I love them to death, but like, they are just bouncy and flighty. And it's like, all right, I got them. I put a warm up in that has nothing to do with anything other than getting them to fucking focus and to get into before they get to their main lift, right? That is the only reason they're in there. They're coming from practice, so they're already like primed and ready to go. But like that 10-minute walk from the indoor track facility to the weight room, all of a sudden their brain goes out of their ass and they're bouncing around. And it's like, okay, we got to do some things to like get them back into training mode, right? And I don't blame them. Like, they're college kids. They have finals coming up. They got all this shit going on. So it's like, It's like bartering with a toddler sometimes. It's like, okay, if you do this, then we can have snack time at the end. Right? Like it's like the red pajamas or the blue pajamas. I don't give a shit what color it is because we're going to be wearing pajamas. It's one of those situations where it's like you just have to know the room and know the people that you're working with. And that's something that I would love to hear about from the other coaches at the conjugate seminar is like, how do you get them first off to buy in? Because my rowers, for example, we threw chains on a squat the other day. They fucking loved it. My track athletes fucking hated it. So it's like, interesting. You can have a variation that you need to change based on even the attitudes of the people that you're working with. If they're not bought into that exercise, why would you fucking keep force feeding it down their throat if you can get the same response from something else, right?
Yeah, 100%. We spent a good amount of time talking about this because last year there was kind of a tone of, and I completely understand it. I've been there. A lot of people are like, why don't more people train conjugate? It works so well. And it's just our enthusiasm for it coming out, right? Like, why don't you do this? Like, we want to help people get better. And so we actually had quite a talk about this. And one, who was it? I want to say it was Alex. He said, we have to sell them the vacation, not the road trip there. So
Yeah,
like
right.
for us, we love the road trip. We like the training and stuff. You know what I mean? So like leave conjugate out of it. I said maybe we need to treat conjugate like Fight Club. Like no one talks about Fight Club. You know what I mean? It's just there and you know about it. Like don't say just tell them they're going to feel better. They're going to perform better in 3 weeks. Their aches and pains are going to be gone. That type of thing. So we were kind of talking about, the messaging being a little bit better. Hopefully that would help. But that was we went on with that for quite a while. And it's funny you bring up your track kids. I've said this over and over. Like college athletes is like elementary phys ed, right? You get them in the gym and then, okay, go crazy for 5 minutes to get all their zoomies out, right? And then you bring them in and then you're like, okay, this is our bar today. You are not allowed to use this as a weapon. You know what I mean? You have to go over all this stupid safety bullshit, and then you can finally start working out. But there's a lot of parallels there.
Yeah, and it's funny because it was the other day I was having a conversation. So the sprinters are my sprinters are they're going through some transitionary stuff with their head coach and like just kind of their programming for tracks specific like running and stuff is they feel like they want to go faster. Of course, like sprinters want to go faster all the time. They just want to go faster and faster and faster. And they think that's how that goes. And so they were like, yeah, I don't know. I just like in one of them, I heard them talking off in the distance. It was just like, yeah, I think all this lifting's making us slower. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, cool. So I walked over. I was like, all right. So we're gonna modify how you guys do this variation today. And I didn't change the weight, I didn't change the percentage, I didn't change anything. I go, all right, so this is a split squat variation. I want you to think every step you're starting a sprint. Like every rep is like the first step of a sprint. How would you put that energy into the bar? They're like, you'd go fast. I was like, yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to go fast. So we were kind of going through it and I was coaching them up. I spent a little bit extra time with them that day. And I was just like, all right, build tension and then fucking fire, explode. Like put that intention into the bar. And all of a sudden they were like, wow, this is way different. I was like, that's so cool. Like that's cool that you guys unlocked this secret truth in yourselves. This is great. But it was awesome to see because it was like all of a sudden the buy-in was there and you would just hear them just like snap, snap. Like they were just fucking hitting it hard. And then they were like, oh, I just like feel better. I just feel good. Like I just feel powerful. I'm like, oh, you lifted the same weight. That's pretty cool how that works. But it is.
Thanks for finally doing this shit I told you to do all semester. Yeah, congrats.
Right. And one of the things that I find is it's hard, like with the conjugate mindset, the constant idea of variation, right? That's what's one of the things that people tend to do a lot with conjugate. But I'm finding, like you had said at the collegiate level, is like, I've been keeping some things in there for a long time, like a lot longer, just so they understand how to fucking do it. And now it's been 6 weeks, it's been 8 weeks of them doing a particular variation. And if I took a picture from their first day to now, they're getting way more out of that same exercise now than they were day one. And it's like, it's only because they just practiced it. They got better at it. And the weight on the bar didn't necessarily matter as much as their execution and their intent into that exercise. And all of a sudden they're like jumping a little bit higher, like everything's moving. They're not complaining after practice, like hamstrings aren't bothering them as much. Like It's one of those things where it's like, cool, like it's working. Let's continue to build and get better and stronger. And luckily enough, we're now on Christmas break. So I get some time away. They get some time away, and we can kind of reset and recharge. One thing I did want to get your opinion on, and this is a purely selfish question: shin splints. Have you when you were working with track athletes, how did you combat shin splints? Not, I mean, you can't necessarily combat it because it's obviously a volume thing with running. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But what sort of things did you kind of put into your program if you noticed shin splints started to become an issue?
Just like a tibialis raise. Sometimes we do it seated, so a band was pulling the toe away and then pull back. I think ISOs with that work pretty good, and then like slow eccentrics. Don't go crazy, but do like maybe a 10-second hold and then 5 reps of 5-second eccentric type thing. To kind of, I want to say break up the tissue. Like, I know that's not what's actually happening, but give the fibers a chance to lay back down without pumping a bunch of volume through, because that's what got them there in the first place, was over volumized of that. Basically, my understanding and thought is it's basically an overuse of the tibialis, because they haven't been running, and then your kids are on a gym floor too, I'm guessing, or cement. Yeah. So they go from doing nothing, and then the track coach blows them the fuck up when they get there, and this is what we're dealing with. I think what something maybe you could do is like roll that stuff out, like tempering. I'm sure you can't get into scraping or any of that, but like those things I think would help too.
It is funny. Like the kids do a good job of making you either feel really stupid or like really smart, right? When it comes to some of this stuff, like very simple, just like golf ball on the bottom of the foot, like rolling that out a little bit, getting the feet kind of to chill out. And it was funny the other day, to kind of segue into, coaching the person that you have in front of you. The rowing team is notorious for just getting the shit kicked out of them, especially this time of year. They just get the shit kicked out of them. And so I gave them a present for the holidays, and it was, I made them lay on the turf. I turned the lights off, and I played like fucking like rainforest sounds. Like, and they fell asleep, and it was like the last 10 minutes. And it was like, all right, we're just going to lay here. And it was as if I gave them like the ultimate gift. Like they were like asleep. I turned the lights back on, and it looked like a Civil War reenactment. They were just rolling around. Like they were just like covering their eyes. Like it was fucking cat. I was like, you motherfuckers need to sleep. I was like, you guys got to recharge. You got to reset, because like we had talked about, kind of to go full circle with the powerlifting stuff, is like you hammer something for so long and you don't ever tap the brakes, like you're going to fall apart.
Yeah. That's the sleep thing is so underrated. I think back we had one coach who wanted to, like during summer, for recovery, make the girls come back in and do like a 45-minute pool session where we would do like warm up, like dynamic warm up through the water. Like this particular team hated the fucking pool, right? And I was like, sure you could, I'm like, if you want to, like, coach, honestly, if you want to help them recover, let them stay home and take a nap. Put in their schedule, like your preseason schedule, put in there, shut off lights and take a nap. But instead, we're going to spend an hour getting to and from the stadium, half hour getting dressed, 45 minutes doing this. And it's like, it's not what they need. They just need some damn sleep.
Yeah. And that's that's another really good point too, is as like a strength coach, your job is to not get them necessarily better at their sport tactically, right? Like you're not a sport coach, you're a strength coach. The idea is to get them into better shape and get them stronger and do all that. And I think we lose sight of that too, is I think we start, talking with the sports coaches and start like really trying to, it all starts with good intentions, right? It all starts with very good intentions of wanting to get them better. But we run into the issue of, and I think this is the best example I've ever heard. And Dan, who is the basketball coach at URI, the basketball strength coach for URI, sent this to me. He's like, being a strength coach is like being in control of a car and their cup holders in a demolition derby. It's like, if the car crashes, it's still your fault that the cup holders got fucked up, right? Like it was like you have no control of the whole system, but your job remains, all right, these are yours. This is your thing. If we win or lose, it's still your fault regardless. Like
that's pretty good.
Right. And I feel like that. It's amazing how quickly winning solves all problems. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like if you have a winning record, all of a sudden it's like everything's fine. There are no issues. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a coach I know that just got let go. And basically the head coach thought that the team was not in shape because they lost a few games in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. There's no way they're not in shape by the end. There's no way they're not in shape by the end of the season. And I was like, I got to thinking, like, I'm not a tech guy. I'm not HRV, like the GPS. I've never been a huge fan of that. Mm-hmm. And kind of the reason for that is I think a lot of people mess around with that stuff and then aren't sure how to adapt their training to the results they're getting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like you had a coach that wanted to do heart rate monitoring during their lifting sessions. And I was like, you're tracking heart rate during a anaerobic activity. Like we're doing masonry with a toothbrush right now. Is what I told the one tech person who was setting it up. You're like, sure, we're getting this data, but it's not affecting anything. But back to this coach, I got to thinking, is there a way, and this is kind of like to protect strength coaches, is there a marker or a way that we can track, like maybe post-game metabolites or blood draw or piss test or something, so we can show that, hey, they're getting in better shape because they're producing less of this waste product or whatever. Just to, if we can have a marker to maybe protect some of these guys from some bullshit like that, that would be a cool, because it's like, you're 10 games in, they run every day, they're not out of fucking shape. Mm-hmm. It's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's a constant reminder. It's like, okay, how do you win your sport? You put the ball in the net. You put the ball over the fucking end zone, right? Like it's like at the end of the day, it's like that. It's a very clear way to win, right? Obviously, there's a ton of variables that lead into that. There's a ton of things that we can do to kind of implement changes to make it better, whatever. But it's like, if they're not good at their sport, like if they're just fucking bad team, I don't know, like how else to say it? Like what else can be done? It's like they can be in the best shape of their life, but if they don't have the technical skills to beat the teams that they're playing, like it sounds so simple, but it really is one of those things where if you have a losing team, it's like first step is like, all right, well, why? Like it's so easy for anybody to just go down the chain and start blaming everybody else, when it's like, instead of just looking inwardly to be like, all right, what am I doing? What can I control right now to better support this team and better get some better outcomes, right? I was looking at and my girlfriend's from Nebraska, and it's like Nebraska football is a whole fucking religion. And it's like how quickly, like you just see it. It's on the forefront, is like teams not winning, fire the head coach. It's like, okay, like that makes more sense to me than firing the fucking strength staff. But that's the problem with firing a head coach. Usually the fucking strength staff is next, right? Like that's kind of the same thing. But it's interesting to see. It's like, obviously with so much money on the line, like you don't want to be like, this year kind of sucks. We'll get them next year. Right. But there is a certain point where it's like, we're just not that good. We're just not that good.
Right. And all coaches need to be held accountable. I agree with that. But if you think about the whole dynamic of it, you have this head coach who I'm sure preaches accountability and high standards and ownership and all these things to his athletes all day, every day. And then same guy comes back and says, we're out of shape. You're out of here. Right. See, it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always my favorite when that's coming from an overweight, out of shape coach. It's like a whole different issue. It's like you can't even fucking bend down and tie your shoes without fucking needing an inhaler. And then you're telling me I'm fucking out of shape. You know what I mean? It's like, okay. I guess round is a shape. That's fine.
Yeah. I've had this conversation with a few groups of people in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, you guys can step up and be leaders and hold your teammates accountable, but if you're going to be that guy, you can't have any chinks in your armor. Because as soon as you say something, so-and-so is going to say, fuck you, you skipped 2 sets of this last week. You know what I mean? So it's funny you bring that up. It's a reoccurring theme.
For sure. And it's wild to see. I mean, one of the cool things that I've seen at URI is that the coaches, like the sport coaches, get in and they get some fucking work done, like while their athletes are there. Like it's a cool environment. It's not every team, but there are some teams that come in and clang and bang with the athletes, which is cool. I love that.
Yep.
Our fucking athletic director, he comes in, like the president of the university will have like 5 a.m. fucking workouts where he just wants to hit arms. You know what I mean? Just like shit like that. Like it's just, it makes such a difference that it's like, if this is going to be a priority for the athletes, like it should be a priority for everybody involved, right? Like if the weight room is such a big deal and conditioning and being ready is such a big deal, it's like, hey man, game day, maybe you just got to fucking, get some work in before that. It's not just like a once a week thing for coaches to roll up and, rah and do the thing. It's like, maybe you show up too and throw some of these fucking weights around and do some of the stuff that we're doing, because then they may even have a better idea of like what in shape is, right? Because I think they don't have a very clear definition of what even that is that they're looking for, and man, the more I go back and see your videos of the shit sport coaches say, man, the more it just fucking just knocks me on my ass, because it's so funny. It's so accurate, because it's like they're shooting for a target where they don't know where the target is and they don't know what the target looks like, but they're going to shoot for it. They're going to shoot for it with this statement of being out of shape. Right.
Yeah. You're right, man. Like kids love that shit when they see coach in there, and the coach don't have to squat 500 pounds, but if you're in there kind of doing the same things, that creates a bond and that community stuff, and they will follow you more. It's that simple, but it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny, cause like, I think one of the coolest things I've seen this year was, I think it was football. I'm not entirely sure. I forgot the sport. It was early on. It was like in September. It was the coaches came in, trained with the athletes, and you could see the next day that the coaches were sore as fuck. Like they were hobbling around, and the athletes would fucking loved it, because they knew, like, they know what they're going through. They know what they're doing. And it's like, oh fuck, this is hard. This is not an easy thing. And they're doing the right thing, and they're getting out there and getting after it. So yeah, I think having that personal accountability to be competitive in whatever nature, it does, like you said, they don't have to squat 500 pounds, but if they have that drive to get better and better. I mean, I personally think that if you're a strength coach, you got to fucking compete in something. Like if you're going to call yourself a strength coach, you have to know how to be strong. You have to, do something strength related. to really be able to call yourself that. And it drives me nuts when you see someone who's like, I'm a strength coach. It's like, you squat what? Or you don't squat? Like, that's incredible.
I don't really like to lift.
Yeah.
What?
Excuse, what the fuck just happened?
How the fuck are you supposed to convince these kids to lift that?
No shit. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And they know what's up. That's one thing that surprises me is how dumb some coaches think these like college kids are.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I had, and I know there was certain like I know they're clowning on me behind my back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know I say something fucking stupid and they're walking out of the room talking like, yeah. But there are some coaches that have no fucking clue the lack of respect their kids have for them. I'm just like, are you fucking, how do you get these kids here to fucking play for you? Like,
unreal.
Must be a damn good used car salesman.
Yeah. Drinking that snake oil.
Yeah. Just like, holy shit.
Unbelievable, man. But yeah, so we've been going for a little bit over an hour. Nate, man, can't thank you enough for jumping on again. Fingers crossed that this fucking records. That would be really fucking sweet if it did. If it doesn't, I'm doing this in person. I'm just fucking driving to your house and we're doing this in person because I'm sick of this shit. Fucking sick of it. I'm sick of fucking technology. But any last words, anything that you're working on? I know you're looking to take on some clients remotely, which is super cool. You want to talk about that for a few minutes?
Yeah. So I was doing this earlier on and then the whole pandemic thing hit and we got crazy busy with calls and it was just, I couldn't do it anymore. I'm kind of getting back to where my brain is working right and stuff. So yeah, I'm just online coaching. We send you the workouts go week by week, see how things go, send me videos back, I analyze them. Make sure to me, your form is 90% of the battle. Mm-hmm. And I was hesitant I was hesitant to start doing this back when I first started. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, if I could have had somebody like get my form right the way, that you can with video, it's not as good as in person, obviously, but
sure,
it can make a ton of difference, So yeah, I'm trying to get that going. And then we just go like 4-week blocks, and then obviously anything else you need, just give me a call or text or whatever and set it up that way.
Yeah. Are you still doing the, obviously you're still working with Waverly, but are you opening that up to other schools that may be interested in like getting some sort of consult or anything with you about programming, about any of that?
Yeah. So that basically works the same way. Like I'll come down and do like a 2-day assessment. We'll see what's going on. And then we educate the coaches and the players. And then while I'm gone, the coaches have to carry out, what we taught them and went over. And Waverly's done an awesome job with that. Their kids are we're at a point with them, we're young and we're kind of teaching them what it takes to like train harder, and they'll do it too. Cause I've seen them play, like they're studs on the field. We just have to kind of take that to the weight room. But like technique wise, those guys have done an awesome job. So yeah, like we kind of educate the coaches and then we'll kind of re-up that every 4 weeks. I'll come down, assess, write the workouts for the next month. Same thing. I am trying to do more of that too. My YouTube channel, I'm trying to build that up. I was over there messing around. I have like 300 videos of, different technique stuff.
It's awesome.
It's
like a really cool library. Yeah. It's like a library of really good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get that going too. So a lot of shit going on, man.
It's hard to be a fucking rock star. But Nate, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate not only you jumping on, but also just the information that you put out is wildly just so important for coaches to see and coaches to kind of implement, as well as, athletes that are looking to really kind of understand how to actually get strong, how to actually get better. And I appreciate the work that you do, and I appreciate you jumping on.
Anytime, man. I'll do it anytime. Hopefully,
well, as soon as I press this button, we'll fucking be able to see. So, fingers crossed. Here we go.